Hello, everyone! Welcome back to Chess Comic. We are now in round 10 of the 2026 FIDE Candidates. And once again, we only have one decisive game. And it came from none other than Javokhir Sindarov, who is now back to a 2-point lead with just 4 more rounds remaining. The pressure is still on because tomorrow he's going to face Fabiano Caruana with the black pieces. So there's one player closest to him who is Anish Giri. But if Javakir is able to draw the remaining games, he's guaranteed the winner. Um, and yeah, I almost mispronounced something. Anyway, without further ado, let's dive into the games before I mispronounce more words. Here, let's start with, of course, the game of Javokhir. They started with d4, c4, okay. I thought he's gonna go for the Catalan, but after he played knight c3, I knew he's going to play his normal setup, which is bishop c4. He has been playing this almost for the entire tournament. Prague played bishop to b4. Now it's transposed to the Ragozin, right? Or I'm not sure, but I feel like this is a Ragozin Queen's Gambit decline. But the computer says it's the three knights bar min variation. But anyway, Javokhir took, Prague took back, and pawn to e3. Now after knight e4, it really feels like the Ragozin for me. Javokhir played queen c2 to defend the knight, obviously. g5, bishop g3, h5. So, see, this is just the Ragozin. It has been transposed to the Ragozin for me. And the threat of black is to play pawn to h4. So, normally, white plays h3 or h4 in this type of line, where black just captures and then captures back, and this is equal. There are a lot. This is one of the most popular lines. But Javokhir plays something different here. He played bishop to d3. Bloop. Which means this is part of his preparation, where he will just let black trap his bishop. h4. He took, check. This is a forcing of sequence, right? King moved to f8, bishop to e5, pawn to f6, and now the bishop is trapped. There's nowhere to go. But here, he played a great move, which is knight takes g5. Bloop. He thought for what? 11 minutes? He was trying to calculate and remember his preparation. There's no way for black to capture any of these minor pieces using the pawn, because if black takes the bishop, there'll be a fort. Say bye-bye to the queen, right? If black takes the knight, say bye-bye to the rook or the rookie cookie. So black has to play knight takes e5 first. Or for some reasons, Prague was like, okay, let me trade more pieces by capturing the knight. It's a check, so you have to capture back before I capture the bishop. And then pawn takes, and here goes I play c5. So here, black is up by a minor piece, which is a bishop. But the king is unsafe. As you can see, there's no shield. There's no pawns that can protect the king because the g and the h are advanced. The d to the f were traded off. And at first thought, we think that Javokhir will just play for draws, right? Because after all, if he draws all of his remaining games, he'll still be the winner of the tournament. But can you see how confident he is? He was still trying to win. He was playing for a win. And he played the best move, f4. Ta-da! During my live stream in the morning, I was like saying, it's dangerous for black here because with just one miss, black dies. While white is just totally fine because there are pawns and there are a lot of alternatives or chances for white in this position. You always want to be the one in control or the attacker rather than the one defending. So here, Prag played h3, which is kind of the best move in this position. And Javokhir played pawn to, rook to d1, attacking the queen, queen to e7, and then pawn to g3. Somewhat a logical move for a grandmaster, because they just don't want to mess up their pawn structure, and they just want to create a solid structure. Prag played takes, and here goes casting. Ta-da! Trying to open up. And then rook h6 was played. For some reasons, the engine loves e takes f4. But during the live broadcast, I said Javokhir will play rook takes f4 because we were like trying to guess the moves. Because knowing him, he would want to attack and put more pressure using this file, right? And Prag played a blunder. Bishop to f7, followed by rook to f7. So here, Prag already took. But there was an analysis that I made or remade during with my subs, where the queen went to e6. And then I was like, oh, if the queen goes to e6, for some reasons I created an idea of queen f4, although the engine didn't like this. So I just want to show you what I was thinking, okay? For example, black plays just a random move so that we'll be able to see what is white's threat, okay? Just check, capture, capture. King goes to h7, followed by rook f7. Rook to g7, and then queen to f3. This is just completely winning. Or first, queen to d8. Bam. There's no way for black to survive this onslaught. Okay? Now, let's try to go back. Although the engine didn't like my suggestion, because the correct move should be rook 7 to f6, forcing a rook trade, and after rook takes, queen to e7, followed by queen to c4. Bloop. King goes to g7, obviously, because if the king tries to go to h8, there will be queen h4, okay? And then queen h7, rook h6. So king goes to g7, followed by still queen h4. What is the threat of this move? Rook g6. King goes to f7 or f8. Then there'll be rook g8 or rook g7, deflecting the king from protecting the queen. And eventually, white will win the black queen. So now, let's try to go back to what really happened to the game. So here, Prag decided to give up his queen for 3 pieces, but there is a strong combination here that no matter what, Javokhir will be able to win the bishop. Here, if the rook blocks, queen e7, forking the king and the bishop. King h7, so queen e7, forking the king and the bishop. Captures, rook f8, queen g4 check. The move a4 is like, what is the purpose? I don't even understand. I don't really get it. Because if you're the one playing for white, you're like, okay, maybe let me try to push my pawn. This is just, for me, I don't really get it. Let me just push my pawn. This is what I'm going to think of. Because if black tries to play rook f6, I'll just capture with a check. This is my shallow understanding, of course. That's why they are the candidates. And now I'm at anondidates. Okay, so let me go back. Javokhir played a4, a5, queen g5, and this is just like a clinic for him. A perfect way to finish the game. Bloop. Base e6? I mean, okay. Why Prag didn't capture e6? Why? This is a free pawn. Because of queen a check. Queen g7, queen 6 b7, and the engine says white is just completely winning. Yeah, perhaps Prag is also uncomfortable playing this type of position because the rooks are uncoordinated. They're not in a battery. Excuse me. So let's go back. So after queen takes a5, pawn to b6, queen e5 check. Check again. Queen f5. So check again. Captures. And Javokhir is trying to use up his king. If the rook captures, there'll be queen h6. And then the queen will exchange for the 2 rooks, and he will be up by 2 pawns. An easy win, right? So rook e to e7, or 8 to e7 check, g4. So slowly, white is trying to push his pawns and would cramp up the two rooks. Da-da-da-da. Now the pawns are here. Let's go, march to victory. Queen h6, check. Queen h8. You know, I'm like, what does Javokhir really want to do? He pushed. Still, you can't capture, and black can capture because there's a 4, and the queen will trade off 4 to 2 rooks. h5, h6, queen d5, and Prague resigned. For the reason of, let's just say the king moves to f8, right? Another pawn will be taken. Bloop. And aside from that, these passers are just too much. So Prague doesn't want to punish himself more, or he doesn't want to prolong his agony. He's trying to reserve his energy for the next round. Oh boy. Oh boy. Javokhir. Anyway, let's move on to the next game, which is Anish versus Hikaru. So, I was looking at this game in live English that was transposed to Queen's Gambit declined, right? So everything seems normal and still part of their preparation. Although, let me just go back. I am not sure if I remember this correctly, where white can play knight f4. I think I saw this from Wesley with the idea of bishop d3 and queen f3, h3, something like this. So this is what I saw from Wesley before. Wesley So let's go back. So captures here. Up to the point, let's just fast forward for this draw. Takes. We were analyzing this at the live stream that after the trade-offs, it's like, okay, what's gonna happen in c5? For me, this is high level of chess. This may ended up in a draw, right? This ended up in a draw, but it takes a lot of understanding for you to play such move as c5. Why? Black just created two isolated pawns, and he just went to an endgame where a queen and bishop versus a queen and knight, and it's an open game. So it takes a lot of chess understanding. Bishop a2, queen takes. Yep, fast forward, and ta-da, draw, because there will be a perpetual. King goes back to h1 or g1, check. Pawn blocks, then it will be a non-stop check-it-poo, draw. Okay, let's move on to the next game. The draw master, Matthias. Okay, blue ball. Here, okay, fast forward to Petrov. At some point in this, where was that? When the queens were traded off, I've mentioned something. Okay, this is equal. This is drawish because there are no more queens. But you still need to have a better chess understanding. For example, like me, I was thinking of playing or moving the knight to e7, which is not too bad. I mean, it's not really bad. It's okay, but it gives white a much better position. So maybe if I was the one playing for black, I will lose. There's a high chance that I will lose. But look at this move by blue bomb. Bloop. He wants to reroute his knight here to attack the bishop. Then he has the option to play bishop d6 or knight to d6. And he can go to e4. Or for some reasons, he can go to f5. For some reasons, he can play bishop to f5. Now, where do my arrows are heading to? I'm confused. Okay. Now, yeah, fast forward to d4, knight f7. Here goes. The position is being closed down. It's one-sided because this is almost locked down, right? So there's really no entry point for both sides. That's why it ended up in a draw. Okay? Now, this one, Fabian Wei. Fast forward, there was okay, Fab played the French. So there was an interesting position here for me. So one of my subscribers asked me, Coach, why is white better here? Because Stockfish says white is up by 0.55, 0.50 to 0.70 plus something in the game. I said, it's because of the pair of bishops in the space, which is true. Although, how do you convert? That's always a question. You may get a good position, but the conversion is really tough, especially at the high level chess, when your opponent also knows how to defend perfect, right? So f4 was played. Bishop to c4. Knight d5. So one of the threats of this move is to play f5, actually. So the main threat, actually not one of the threats, the main threat is to play f5 and make this bishop bad. Imagine white is able to play f5. If the knight takes, there will be bishop e6 fork. Black loses material. If bishop takes first, you take first before you fork. That's it. So Fabio played knight to d5. Rook h to f1, still threatening f5. h5, f5, bishop f7, and fast forward. This was defended well by Fabi. I can say that Fabi is the one defending the position. And opposite color bishops. What does happen? What happens when it's an opposite color bishop? There's a joke. They repel. That's why it ends up in a draw. All right. So much for today's candidates. We're gonna see each other tomorrow, and the question is, will Fabi be able to even up with Javokhir, or will Javokhir continue his winning streak again for the second half? That remains a question mark until tomorrow. So until next time, bye bye everyone.